Hello everyone, so this is going to be a video on how to install Immich, like a complete guide. So this is installing and backing up and restoring. It's going to be a very big video and I'm going to experiment with this format of just sort of doing it live. I typically have or at least I want to have a article with every single video that I create. So if you are like, I missed something in the video, or you just want to slow down the pace, you can actually also refer to the article. But what I'm going to be doing with this video is referring to the article when doing everything that I need to do in order to get this up. Now, what is Immich? What is degoogling? All this stuff. What is all that stuff? So there's been a big movement recently for degoogling and de-appling. It's sort of taking some power away and retaining some level of privacy and ownership over your data from big tech. So that's like the degoogling movement, sort of in a nutshell. It's like, I'm going to own more of my stuff, more of my data. I'm not going to be tracked on these things. And in an effort to do so, one of the things that you can actually do is replace Google Photos or iCloud Photos if you use iCloud. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to set up Immich, how to use it, and how to migrate from Google Photos and iCloud Photos if you also have that as well. And yeah, it's gonna be a long one, so please bear with me, but also very open to feedback. I'm trying to make this beginner friendly. This is not, I would say this is not the most beginner friendly thing to do. Something easy to do would be like, wiping a spare computer and then also installing like one application that doesn't do too much. That's a really good home lab beginning thing, but I think this is important. People really want to own their data and just be a little bit more private. So I want to make this tutorial. So yeah, the way that we're going to do it first is we're going to do some setup, then we're going to install, then we're going to migrate, and then we're going to show the backup and restore processes. I'm not going to show every single individual thing like sign up processes for certain accounts. But for the most part, you should be able to follow this and get to where you need to go. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to buy a domain. Over here on the side, I actually have a domain that I am interested in using, and the service I am using for purchasing domains is called Namecheap. You don't need to use Namecheap at all. I'm just using Namecheap because I've used it for a long time. There's also Spaceship, which is actually kind of like Namecheap already. Squarespace sells domains. A ton of places sell domains. So it doesn't need to be here. You just need to find a provider that will allow you to customize your DNS settings. DNS settings are settings used to configure an IP address, which is the way that computers talk to each other. Like, that's the address of a computer that is connected to the internet, and a domain. So you need to be able to control the settings that sort of say, hey, this is what this IP goes to. This is the name of this IP. And then also there's going to be a couple of things that we get into, like terminal, or the command line, as you may have heard it. And also, if you didn't know what a domain is a URL. It is like namecheaprighthere.com. That is the domain. And we are effectively getting a domain that we can use for Immich, so this can be used publicly. Not everyone needs to particularly use their instance publicly. It's totally fine if you don't want to, but I'm assuming most people who have Google Photos or iCloud Photos are sharing it with friends and family, or just storing it and need to store it outside the home. So I'm making that assumption, but you don't have to do every single thing in this. So first thing we're going to do, buy a domain. This is just a random one. This is just Compute for Humans without the vowels, I believe. CM. Yes. Domains typically cost around $20. So, all right. So we're going to buy our domain, confirm order. And I'm going to use PayPal real quick. All right. So I went ahead and purchased the domain. And what we're going to do is actually we're going to click on Advanced DNS. And then we're going to go to DigitalOcean. Now, DigitalOcean is I would say infrastructure as a platform, as a service, infrastructure as a service, where you can actually buy cloud resources. One of the resources is a droplet or a virtual machine, which actually allows you to run a instance of basically a mini PC in the sky. So if you wanted to do something on a spare computer and turn it into a server, you actually can just purchase a virtual machine in the cloud that is like almost automatically public, and it's really cool. It's really cool. They also do cost money. Immich replacing some services and self-hosting and home labbing will cost money. Not everything is free and open source. Some things are self-hosted, but you still have to pay for them. It all depends. But Immich for sure is not a service that you want to cheap out on, because these are important photos. So yes. So anyway, we purchased our domain. We're gonna leave this page up, so we can add a couple things in a moment. We're gonna close this, and I already made a new account, and you're gonna do this yourself. I will also link to this service if you want to use it. I will have an affiliate link. If you don't, you don't have to use it. It's just you get credits if you use an affiliate link, and also I get a kickback as well. I highly recommend it, but if you don't want to, I totally understand. So the first project, it's gonna name itself, but once you're done logging in, you'll go through some pages. The article shows you what this is, and then you are able to go ahead and purchase Droplet. You will have to link a payment method like a credit card or PayPal. Again, this isn't the only service. A lot of the stuff that I'm describing when you're purchasing resources on the internet, there's tons and tons of people who do it. It's just DigitalOcean's one of the bigger names, and I like DigitalOcean. So you don't have to do DigitalOcean if you don't want to, but you will have to pay in most circumstances. So this tutorial is assuming that you are just basically taking a local server and putting it in a cloud versus actually purchasing a VM to handle Immich. The article talks a little bit about that, but we are going to do the cheapest thing possible for this. And yeah, so if you're wondering what's going on, am I putting the whole entire application on here? No, we're going to put the entire program on a mini PC, and we're going to hook that up to the cloud, which is a bit cheaper than basically anything else. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and just pick a region, data center, ATL, that's fine. That's fine. We go to regular. And sometimes you don't get the smaller CPU options. So you're going to just San Francisco. You can choose one of these data centers. And this does matter a little bit. In my use case, it really doesn't. In our use case, it doesn't really. If you have a ton of different people, then you might want to average it out. But sometimes some regions don't have the droplet that you need. So, you know, you just have to play around with picking out a region that's close and figuring out what you want. So the operating system we're going to use is Ubuntu. I love Ubuntu. Ubuntu server is very straightforward. So yeah, you can leave the version alone. You go to basic, and then I think it's usually on one of these, a premium Intel or premium AMD, but just go to regular and then go to $4 a month. This is the cheapest option on DigitalOcean. If you know what an SSH key is, you can add this, but what we're going to do is just create a password that's just really complex and save it. All right, so we created a password, and then we're going to change the host name. So the host name is the name of the server. The best way to describe it is the host name is the name of the device. So when it communicates over networks, it's going to self-identify as Immich. And then on top of having a host name, you can have users on your server, and that's like a different thing. But if you see host name anywhere, host name just means this is the name of the device or the virtual machine or your mini PC. And then we're gonna just make the project, first project. It should be the only thing there if you are new. And we're gonna go ahead and sometimes it'll take a second to provision the droplet, so you're just gonna wait a little bit. All right, so now we have a provisioned droplet virtual machine, which will allow us to basically use our mini PC, and it's going to be like a pass through, which is going to be really cool. So we can access the mini PC outside of the home. So now that we have this, we're going to go ahead and copy this. We need this IP so we can go ahead and link the domain to this IP. We're going to do a couple of things in Namecheap in order to connect the droplet to the world using the domain. So we're going to go back over here, and you want to just delete these records, and then we're going to add a new record, and we're going to add 2 records. So the first one is going to be an A record. An A record is for IP addresses like this that are the IP4 standard. IP6 is a new standard, and they look a little bit different, and that's like, I guess, quadruple A records, but we just need a single A record. And then we're gonna hit save changes, and we're gonna have an @ symbol and host. You can leave this as automatic. And this just means whenever someone goes to this domain, it will go to this IP. The second thing we're going to do as just a thing to make this easier for us later is we're gonna add another A record, and we're going to do Pangolin. And Pangolin is the software that we're going to use to connect our mini PC at home to this VM in the cloud. And it's going to basically act as, like, I don't know, a pass-through layer for the mini PC. But we have a control panel at the subdomain. Subdomain is just something that goes before this. So like www dot is a subdomain. So we're going to have pangolin.computeforhumans.com. And we're going to put that under host, pangolin under host, and then value, we're going to do the IP that we got from the droplet, and then we're going to hit save changes. So there you go. So now we have added 2 separate records that are both pointing to the same place. And what this will allow us to do is basically anytime someone requests either Compute for Humans or pangolin.computeforhumans.com, we will be able to see the requests come in. So anytime you go to a page, you are actually requesting resources. So whenever someone goes to either of those 2 sites that I talked about, we'll actually be able to look at those requests. Otherwise, they just won't go through, I'm pretty sure. So now that we're done with that, we might not even need to do anything with Namecheap for the rest of the tutorial, so we can go ahead and just get rid of that. The next thing we are going to do is we're going to install Immich on our mini PC. I'm doing this sort of out of order. We're going to do Backblaze in a little bit, and Backblaze is the way that we actually will back up our content of Immich to somewhere else. The backup strategy we're using is the 3-2-1, and 3-2-1 is a very common backup plan where you have 3 copies of data. It's going to be in 3 different places, and then you're going to have on 2 different media. So it can be a hard drive, it can be an SSD, it can be a flash drive, it can be cloud storage, it can be a tape. It just has to be 2 different types. So if you have 2 hard drives, that wouldn't fulfill the different media. It would have to be a hard drive and an SSD. And then we have 1 offsite. So 3-2-1, the 1 is for offsite. Offsite can mean you back up to a hard drive and then you move it somewhere else when you back it up, or you can have something where it will back up remotely with another computer connected, or it can mean cloud backup. So 3-2-1 just allows you to be protected in case of something happening to either your main backup source or even other backup sources. So what we're going to do now is just install image onto our server. So I have my server up. I have it. We're SSH'd in, and SSH is secure shell, and it allows you to log into servers and also desktop environments from another computer, from another device, from another server. So my mini PC is actually off camera. It's up there, and I have it plugged up to the internet. And we are just going to go ahead and go through the steps that I have on the article for setting up Immich. So what we're going to do, we've opened up the terminal, and a terminal is just it's a way of doing commands on a computer or server. Simply put, it is scary at first, but I promise you, as long as you follow these directions or even other directions, over time you will become way more comfortable with it. So yes, the first command we're going to do is mkdir and then image. And what that does is allow us to create a directory, like a folder, basically. And cd stands for current directory, and we're going to cd into Immich. So now we're here. The reason why we're doing this is because we want to put all of our stuff for Immich in one place. That's it. So now I'm going to follow the instructions on the tutorial page for this. I'll put this on the other screen so it's just easier to just look at what's going on here. So now we're going to get this Docker Compose file. So I'm just copying this from the site. This is also on the article as well. All right, so what that command that I just put in does is it just downloads the Docker Compose file to the mini PC. And also, let me clear this. I don't think I have Docker on here, so I might have to install that. No, I have it. Okay, cool. I've made, I feel like, so many tutorials on how to install Ubuntu server and then install Docker. You will need to do that on your mini PC before, or your spare PC before you do any of this. So make sure you install Docker. I will have links to that content. But yes, you will need Docker installed. It needs to be connected to the internet. Clear. So we know Docker's installed. I'm going to just ls. ls will show us the files that are in the directory that you're currently in. So Docker Compose. I don't believe there's too much we have to alter for Docker Compose, so I'm going to leave that alone. And then we're going to go ahead and get an environment file. An environment file is a file that allows you to inject specific values into an application depending on where you put it. So I think of it as like Mad Libs. The Docker Compose file is going to be the structure of the Mad Libs, and then an environment file will inject the values of the Mad Libs depending on where you have it. So let's say you have your own Mad Lib words that you want to put in. That's one environment file, and then your friend does the same Mad Lib. That's their environment file. So there you have it. So we are downloading that and putting that in here. So I'm going to ls, and what you're going to notice with my ls statement is that there is no environment file. So in a lot of file systems, including Windows, I'm pretty sure when you have a dot anything file, it's not going to show up unless you do a special function where they'll show hidden files. So the only thing we have to do is ls-a, and then it will show us the environment file. So what we're going to do is we're going to nano.env and then hit enter. And Nano is a file editor that is baked into most distributions of Linux, I'm pretty sure. But it allows us to edit things. And this is not like VS Code or Notepad or anything like that. So just be warned. You use the keyboard for everything. We're going to set a time zone. We're on the East Coast. we're gonna do America. I think this is it. Let me double check. Yep. Okay. So that's it. That is it. In the article, I have a link to the Wikipedia that will show you the time zones that you can use for this. So we are doing America, New York, and then we have to generate a password for this. Let me go grab the command, and I'm going to sort of blank this out because it is important. But I'll show you the command though. I'll show you the command that you need to run, but I'm going to blank this out. So the command is this: open SSL ran dash base 6432, and it gives us a random string. So this is what I use for password generation, and a lot of guys will show you how to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and do this, put this in the environment file, and then I will come back. Okay, so now that I've put that password in and we've set our time zone, we're basically ready to start installing Immich. And the way that it works is Docker just does a lot of the hard stuff for us. So continuing with the commands that the Immich app documentation shows us, we're just going to go ahead and Docker compose up. One of the cool things about Immich is that you don't need any special hardware to do a lot of the stuff it offers out of the box. Basically, as long as your computer runs decently and you have a lot of storage, you should be good to go. I will say that the more resources, the better. There is actually hardware acceleration for videos and facial detection. You don't need to do it. In this video, I won't show how to configure it. In the article, it does have that information. But it's completely unnecessary. You don't need to do anything extra after this. It will just out of the box do facial detection, even on large libraries. We will go ahead and do clear, and we've started the we've started the application. So what that means now is we can actually go over to the domain and we can start. So this is what's going to look like when you've installed this on your mini PC or your spare PC or whatever you're using as your server at home. Welcome to Immich. And then you're going to make a new account. So I'm going to make this off screen and then get back to it. All right, so we're just running through the installation phase right now. Theme, we'll go dark. Language, English, server privacy. We'll just disable this because I don't really care for the map stuff. Google Cast, don't need that. Storage template, don't need that. Backups. So this is the 3-2-1 backup strategy sort of coming up. It's very common. 3 total copies of your data, 2 local copies on different devices, and then 1 offsite copy. So we will get through that later. Hit done. And yeah, now we are done. You can upload directly from the browser or you can migrate from other places. And there's also an iPhone app, and I will show you how to use that once we've connected everything a little bit later. So now that we have this good and going, we are going to set up the Pangolin, which is the sort of layer on the cloud server we provision, the droplet, that will allow us to use the mini PC everywhere. So we're going to go over here. We're going to go to DigitalOcean again. And I'm going to pull up the documentation for Pangolin. And then we're going to go Access Console. And then we will launch the droplet. All right, so we are going to just do the documentation. It's right here on Pangolin docs. This will be linked. Everything will be linked. But yeah, we have this command curl dash fssl, and then it will run. So what it's going to do is it's going to get the script to install everything. Oh, wait, actually, before this, what we want to do is mkdir, and also let's zoom. Let me zoom for this. We want to make a folder for this. So mkdir pangolin, and then we're going to cd to it. But also you can hit shift and it will autocomplete as long as it's unique. So if there's nothing else that has a P in the file name where your folder is, it will just autocomplete. All right. So we're going to go ahead and clear. And then what we're going to do is just paste that command back in again. And then we'll hit enter. And cool. So it downloaded the installer. So what we're going to do is we're going to sudo and then installer. And I just used the shift command right there. And then we'll hit enter. Would you like to run Pangolin as Docker or Podman containers? We're going to do Docker. So we're just going to hit enter. Your base domain. So our base domain is what we bought on Namecheap. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the command humans.com. That is not fun to type, but I just needed to do something. Enter the domain for the Pangolin dashboard. Yep. So as you can see here, it's Pangolin and then our domain. And subdomains are just something before the domain you bought proper. So www dot or sub dot domain or application dot twitch or something like that. Like that's the subdomain. And then we'll hit enter. And then the email. So we'll just use my email. And then, do you want to use Gerbil to allow tunneled connections? Yes. Basic enable email functionality. We don't need that, so we'll just hit enter for no. Docker is not installed. Would you like to install it? Yes. So you'll hit enter. It's going to install Docker for you. And then we're just going to wait a little bit. Alrighty. So it's finished installing Docker. So what we're going to do now is we are going to install and start the containers. Hit yes. So now it's just going to download everything and get everything started. And then we'll have to go into the control panel and get everything hooked up to my mini PC so we can actually, instead of typing in test server, we'll actually type in compute for humans and we'll actually get this. It's going to be really fun. And we'll also get this to say, it's not going to say secure, but it'll be a lock. So with all the services that we were using, they actually will give you free HTTPS, which is cool. Cool little bonus. And basically HTTPS is I guess service basically that allows you to connect securely from wherever you are. So if you are going online and you connect to an HTTPS, it, I believe, encrypts the traffic in the middle of it. So no one can see what you're doing, but they can see what the link is. They just can't see what you're doing on there. I think. Don't quote me on that. I think. All right. So we're starting traffic, and traffic is just a server software that allows you to do cool stuff with ingoing and outgoing traffic on a piece of server or hardware. It's taking a while to start. Gosh darn, bro. There we go. Would you like to install CrowdSec? No, but this could be potentially useful for folks later for blocking bad traffic. All right, to complete the initial setup, please visit, and then it has the domain. So what we're going to do is copy this. All right, so we're at the initial server setup. This is pretty straightforward setup stuff. So you're just going to make an email password. Yeah. And when I did a dry run of this, it was giving me issues when I first got all this going. So if you see stuff like this, just know that happened with me before too. So what I'm going to do real quick is actually I'm going to upsize the droplet because things are just running really slow on 512 megabytes. So we'll just go to the next one up, which is 1 gigabyte, and that's $6 a month. So So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and hit droplets. We're going to go ahead and go back. I just upsized the droplet to give it a little bit more RAM to see if it will actually work a little bit better. Its potentially this is, I think I closed it, so yeah, it's not working. So we're going to go ahead and launch this. We'll launch the console. Go into Immich or Pangolin. Oops, Pangolin. And then what we're gonna do is Docker compose up, and then we're gonna do -d, which means detached. Yes, detached. So we're waiting for Pangolin to start, and then we'll be able to go back, hopefully. All right, cool. So that's up, and we can go ahead and hit spacebar. And it looks like the admin went through. I think upsizing will probably help you later. So 1 GB, and I will make sure to put that in the description. Do 1 GB instead of 5 MB, because I think that space actually does help it do its thing. Docker being Docker. So go ahead and log in, and you'll create a new organization. So this organization is just a name, like a team name. It doesn't really matter all that much. Compute for humans. You're gonna leave this alone. You're gonna leave subnet alone. You're gonna hit create organization, and then you'll do site information. So site is just like a host name. That's the way that I think about it. It's like my mini PC is Immich. That's the host name. So think about site as in the actual device, the physical device. That's the name of it. Because then you can do resources per site. So yeah. So Immich and then Newt Tunnel is the easiest way to do this. And then you're gonna get credentials for your system so it can connect to the cloud, basically. Let's think about it like that. So what Pangolin allows you to do is actually connect your at-home device, whether it's a mini PC, a spare computer, a laptop. It allows you to connect it publicly and securely to the cloud. So these credentials are integral to making that work, and these are instructions on how to do it. So you can do this on a Windows computer, a Mac computer. You can do this on Linux. You can do this on anything running Docker, anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make another site off screen in a second, and then I'll show you what to do on your mini PC or your spare computer at home. After you have created your site, you are going to take that command at the bottom, put it in your terminal, and run it. And then after you run it, you should get a success, which is what I got right here. It's successfully added, which means we can now send traffic from the internet, the World Wide Web. So if anyone wanted to do this, they could just go onto it. It would come from the World Wide Web, and then they're going to go to the mini server. And this is how you can get around a lot of paying for copious amounts of cloud storage and cloud compute. You just buy a computer at home that is, you know, what, maybe sub $100. If you need more storage, you just go buy external storage space, and then you connect it to a really cheap server online. That is how you get around it. There is actually cheaper droplets on Racknerd that the creators and maintainers of Pangolin actually will give you an affiliate link for. So, I mean, that's like under $1 a month for something comparable. So that's also something to consider. So there we go. We are connected successfully using the commands that you saw when you're creating your site. And then you'll do save all settings. You're going to go over to resources. You're going to go add resource. You're going to say, I just say Immich again. Doesn't really matter. And then you're going to make sure that HTTPS resource is selected. For most things that you'll be hooking up to the World Wide Web using this method, HTTPS will be what you use. However, if you're making, I learned this recently, if you're making something like a Minecraft server, you will have to use raw TCP. And the There are instructions on how to do it, but it does require a little bit of finessing before you can get it working perfectly, which I learned. I thought that HTTPS would work right out of the box for Minecraft, but it doesn't. But for most things that we're doing, this will work. And then for domain, what you're going to do is actually, I'm going to copy and paste this because I'm lazy. It used to, in an older version of this, it would actually just give you this without having to type it because you're on the domain, but it doesn't do that anymore. So you'll go ahead and type in your domain. You'll click on that and make sure that's selected. Hit create resource. We are almost done here. What we're going to do is we're going to, where it says proxy, we're going to go over here and go to, we'll put in localhost, and then the port we'll put in is 2283. I'm pretty sure, whatever it says right there, 2283. And then we'll hit add target, and then I'm gonna turn off the rules or the authentication. Typically for something like this, you don't want to do this, but I want to make this easy for you to see how this works. And also, if you don't have certain rules here, you cannot use your phone to import certain things. So right now we're just going to turn off authentication, and we will use the credentials that we have and use the built-in authentication for Immich in order to make sure no one gets into it. So we'll do save users and roles. Yep, and we're all good here. I think that is basically all we need to do here, and we can now test out if this works by clicking on this. Hopefully this works first try. It does not work. Huh, it didn't add the... Okay, localhost, it didn't add this. I don't know why. Add target. Save all settings. There we go. Okay, so we are now able to log in, and let me go ahead and get my credentials. All right, so now we have a lock, and we have our domain, and we have photos, and we are basically good to go. This is my mini PC. This, you know, I have 250 gigabytes of space, and I've only used 10, and at this point, you know, storage is now limited to how much you can plug into your spare computer. You can also plug into a NAS, which would be a separate network attached storage, which would allow you to actually add storage to all your devices on your network. But for the most part, we have the application ready to go, ready to rock. So now you can migrate from Google Takeout, or you can upload photos directly from the browser, or you can use the mobile app. So I'm going to show you how to use the mobile app on my iPhone. It is a free application. I don't know if you can see it. Free application. It's on Android and iPhone. I'll go ahead and open this up. Under Server Endpoint URL, you'll go ahead and put the URL that you have created. My super weird non-readable domain.com, and it looks like this. Go ahead and hit next, and then you have to put in your credentials for this. I'm gonna go ahead and unselect everything and only put the Immich ones. Select. So now you can see it's syncing from here. Yeah, that is how you use a mobile app. Very simple, very similar to Google Photos and iCloud, where it will sync up to a central location, and that's basically it for the mobile app. But now we're going to show how to import or migrate from either Google or Apple, depending on what service you use. So what you can do for Google is you just do Google Takeout, and you're going to immediately hit deselect all, and then you can do Control F to do photos. And then you're going to click on the checkbox next to photos, and then you will do next step, send download link via email, export once. You can do the biggest if you want. It can make things a little bit more difficult, but honestly, most of the time it's fine. You just have to wait a little bit. So honestly, what I would recommend is doing like 4 to 10 gigabytes per file, and depending on how many photos you have, is how long it's going to take and how long it's going to export and actually import. It can be a little tricky, I'm going to be completely honest with you, but it's worth it. So you're going to do create export, and then you'll get a link to your photos. And similarly with Apple, you can do privacy Apple, and you can sign in, and then you can actually export your stuff. I already exported my stuff just so I could show everyone how to do it. And the program we're going to use to actually import it, it's called Immich Go. And it is a command line program that you're going to use on your primary computer in order to migrate your files to Immich. So this is the documentation, but what we're going to do is just do releases, and then you're going to download the one that is for the operating system of the primary computer. Mine is Windows x86. If you're doing this on Mac, it's going to be Darwin, and if you're doing this on a Linux distro, you're going to be doing it with one of these. More than likely, you're going to be doing x86 for most of these, except for Mac. If you have a newer MacBook, you might be using ARM. But you go ahead and download it, and you unzip it. And this is not like a traditional program. I warn you. Immich Go, Immich. So I'm gonna go downloads. Immich Go.exe. It's when you unzip it, it's going to be an exe. This is a binary that you will actually use to do everything you need to do. And what I'm going to show you is the options that you need to use in order to get this going. So we're going to take this down for a second. We need to create an API key. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to administration. Actually, no, we're going to go to account settings. We're going to go to API keys, new API key, and I believe you need to do asset and album. I think that's the 2 ones you need. And then we'll hit create. And then you're going to get an API key. I'm going to delete this later, but I'm going to go ahead and copy this right now and go save this somewhere else. And then what we're going to do is we have to build out our sort of command in order to migrate everything. So I'm going to go down and see where this is. I would refer to the documentation for more things, but essentially it's going to be Immich Go and then upload, and then you're going to do either from iCloud or you're going to do from Google Photos. But I have an iCloud backup, so we're going to do from iCloud. Then we'll do server, and server is just going to be the domain that you have. So we're going to do HTTPS, and then compute. Oh my goodness. Compute for humans. Alright, and then you're going to do API key, and the API key that we created. And also I want to show you all populating in real time, so we'll do that, and then I will paste into there. That's the API key. And then you're going to look for the name of your export. If you have multiple, let me look at the documentation for multiple folders. So let's see, upload. Okay, cool. So you can do a wildcard, and a wildcard will say if it matches this, then we will do all of these. So when you do Google takeouts, they're like multiple folders that have like takeout appended to the names and some other stuff. You can do that, or you can do each zip file, each zip folder by itself. But doing takeout like this, the takeout dash, and then the wildcard will do all of your takeouts from Google Photos. So I'm going to go back into here, and I'm going to do iCloud photos. I have 2 because I downloaded. They're the same thing, so don't even worry about that. And I actually want to show you all what it looks like when it works. So we will do this, and then missing required permission. So what we'll do is we'll go back to administration, and I need to update the article real quick. To make this a lot easier for us is just click on select all and then hit save, and then that's good. I need to update the article, and then this hopefully will work. It's working. It's working. And there we go. Alrighty. So, we are now finished migrating everything over to Immich, and this is a these are just photos that I have from my iPad mini I had a long time ago. I don't anytime I've had an iPad, I haven't used it to its fullest extent, so just really weird random photos. This was what I was building a vision board. That was when I was drawing. That's a picture of me with like a wood cap on. I think that was when I was trying to be Edward or something. I don't know. But yeah, that is all of the migration components of Immich Go. You have your mobile app and you have your... Oh, am I still recording? That is good. Now we have everything we needed for Immich Go, Immich, mobile app, and we're all good to go with that. Now what we're going to do is mess with the backups, and this is somewhat tedious, but it's really important so you can protect your files for later. So what we're going to do is exit out of this and go over here. Just go ahead and create a Backblaze cloud storage account. You don't have to have a credit card for the first 10 gigabytes, I believe, and then after that you just have to pay. When you are doing backups, you're going to be paying. Just if you're doing cloud storage, you're going to be paying. You also technically could just get like 3 different types of media and back it up, and then just have one remotely backed up. But this can be a lot easier in a pinch. So you'll just go ahead and make a Backblaze account. All right. So the B2 cloud storage buckets. So basically B2 is cloud storage, and it is also sort of like Amazon has S3, which is basically the industry standard for object storage. So there's many types of cloud storage. Object storage is just basically file storage for computers. So most of the time when we do backups, we think like Google Drive. We think Google Drive, and we basically have a hierarchy that looks like what we would be using on a computer. But with Backblaze and Amazon's S3 and Cloudflare's R2 and a bunch of other services, we do something similar with files, but we make them organized for computers. So they're optimized for computers. Typically, you're not touching any of this stuff like you would with like Google Drive or anything like that. Object storage is optimized for computers. So the way you can think about it is like a bucket is like a folder. Typically a folder is going to be used specifically for one service. So we're going to go ahead and go through what we need to go through so we can back up stuff to Backblaze. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and create a bucket. I'm just going to call it has to have a unique name, like a globally unique name. So this is just basically like making a username for your bucket, because again, these are for computers and servers and not humans per se. So we're going to do private, and we're going to do a unique name. We'll do something just completely random like this, just for the sake of example. All right, so we did that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do application keys, and we're going to create an application key that will allow us to manage Backblaze on the command line in the terminal. You will get a key name, a key ID, and an application key, and we're going to be using those later. So take a picture of it and copy it as well, so you can copy and paste it into the terminal, because we're going to need that later. So make sure you copy and paste it, or at least have it somewhere. Alrighty, so we created a bucket. Keep this page open. You've created an application key for the bucket, which will allow you to programmatically access the bucket. Make sure you have all this open because you're going to want to copy and paste for what we're about to do. Editor Josh here from the future. So what you're about to see is me mounting a flash drive to a Linux server installation. It's a little jarring because I was talking about B2 before, but I assure you after the mounting of the external flash drive, then you will see me install B2 and you'll be rocking and rolling. It's a little weird, but that's what's going on. Alrighty, so I have a flash drive connected to the Ubuntu server, my mini PC, and we're going to go ahead and get this mounted. We're going to get the USB mounted. So with a server, even specifically Ubuntu server, it doesn't automatically see the flash drive like we're used to on like a MacBook or a Windows computer. We have to mount it and make it visible to the rest of the computer. So I'm just going to do, this is also going to be in the documentation. I'm just running this these commands in order to get it to work. So yeah, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do lsblk, which is block. And right here is what we're looking for. So it's a 657.8 gigabytes. That is my external flash drive, which is USB 3, 64 gigabytes, which is like, flash drives aren't the best for archiving, but this is just an example. You do the same thing with a external hard drive, like a bigger hard drive. So for right now, this should work. We're going to go ahead and make the mount point, which is going to be mkdir media external. And then we have to mount. I don't know what is the, I don't know how it's, I don't know how it's formatted. It might be already in FAT. So let's see. FAT dev SDB media external. Oh, I just had to add a 1. My bad. Okay, just had to add a 1. And now I believe it's mounted, which means anything that we add onto there will work. And now that, and also the Linux sees the flash drive. And since I'm leaving it on 24/7, I don't really need to do anything else with this, though it could be valuable, according to this documentation, to auto mount. So every time you put this in and unmount the drive, it will recognize it and you don't have to do it all the time. But since I'm just leaving it there, should be fine for right now. All right, so the last thing I was working on was trying to get the B2 application to work, the CLI application to work on the computer. But unfortunately, the instructions are not very straightforward. And on top of that, the binary wasn't working in the way that I had thought before. And I wrote the article incorrectly. So we're going to fix everything. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to wget. Here, we're going to wget the binary from GitHub. And then once we do that, what we're going to do is you're going to chmod +x and then b2 Linux. Go hit enter. And then what you do on top of that is you're going to move b2 Linux to this directory, which is /user/local/bin/b2, which is bin is for binary. So anytime that you hit b2 on your computer, this will come up. So for some reason it was not working earlier. Python is weird on Linux. Python is weird everywhere. So I was recording a little bit of this earlier and it wasn't working and I got so frustrated so I had to log off for a little bit. And I'm logging back on now to finish out the tutorial. And I updated the article and I just have to push that out. So what we have to do now is, if you still have your credentials open, you want to have your application keys out. And what we're going to do is b2 account authorize. So the application key. All right, so the application key ID, we're gonna copy paste that in, and then we're going to copy and paste the application key. And then after you put that in, it isn't plain text when you put it in, but once you hit enter, it does show the key, and I'm like, what's the point? The application key that you just created is going to have access to all of the buckets unless you made it for only one bucket, which would be the only bucket that we have. So now, if we want to upload, let me see. You're going to need the bucket name to be to file upload, bucket name, and then we're going to upload the image config back up, and then I'm going to do this file name. We're appending the date onto it so we can know when the backup is. Just going to upload. Boom. Super easy to back up. Super easy to back up. And then we have to back up the media as well. So the way that I like to do this is we're just going to make a little tar in place. So same thing, date appended, and then the library folder is the only important thing you need for your media. So we'll go ahead and do that. Test server. All right, so we went ahead and backed it up, and we can check by doing ls, and you can see that we now have the media backup, and we can do the same thing we did earlier, which is we copy this to media backup. We can copy this into the external. We just have to sudo this. And now it copied over, and then we just have to back this up to Backblaze. Jesus. We're gonna do media backup. I have to completely erase this, so we can do that. And since media is a little bigger, we went ahead and had to wait a little bit longer, but it's totally okay. And now we have, let me check. I can actually check the bucket now. So if you go to buckets, and you go to upload download, you should see your files that you uploaded. Yeah, you should see your backups. This is just the backup. So this is on the cloud and this is on the external drive. So if you need to fetch them for any reason, you can just grab them either from here or your drive and then just re-download them to your server and then restore. I will have a script later that will automate this process daily for backing up, so you don't have to worry about doing this manually. But I wanted to at least introduce how to do everything manually. So if you wanted to venture out in that way, you could do that, and then automation would be provided in an easy way, and then you can just tweak whatever you need. So we've basically backed up the config and the media. What we're going to do though is we're going to break it so we can restore it, and I can show you how this works. So in order to break it, let me go over to the server terminal. We'll go ahead and clear. Right now we have our backups, we have our library, and we have Postgres. What we're going to do is, let me delete that file real quick, and then we're going to do docker compose down and then v says take the volumes with you, and I will show you what happens to the app. It breaks. Technically speaking, this shouldn't happen because I think the application is just off, period. So this is just a cached, what you're seeing is a cached version of the application on your browser and it's not working. So it's not working. You're like, oh no, something happened. And then if you want to get real crazy, you can also delete Postgres if you want. All right, so I deleted Postgres. I don't need to worry about that now. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to pull the latest version of Immich. You don't have to do this every time, and honestly, in its current state, I do not recommend you do that, just because there could be a breaking change, and so don't actually do the pull part, but that's what's in their documentation, just keeping everything up to date. And then what you're going to do is now you're going to create the containers, which right now doesn't run them, but they are created and ready to be used. And then we're going to start the Docker container for Postgres. And then you are now ready to restore your data. We have to now import it in. So, for example, there is a command that they have already ready, and you can customize this as you see fit, but effectively what you want to do is find right here in the quotes, you want to find where the last backup you have is, and then it's going to basically dump the dump back into the current version of your Postgres container. So yeah, you just basically have to change the first line where it says media external, depending on where you have it. We also have the backup right next to us in place. So depending on how you want to do it, you can do it. I don't recommend you have this date in there. You just want to look for what your last backup is, the file name for that. And then you just hit enter. Oh, that doesn't exist. So what we're going to do, oh, it doesn't have the date time. So I will tweak the commands in the article, because we do indeed need to have the timestamp on all of them. That's gonna happen. And let me tweak the backup config. Yes, we have the date there, dates there, dates there. The restoring is a different thing altogether. But so now we're doing the config. So once this is done, you're going to see something like this. We're going to go ahead and clear this to get rid of all the stuff. I want to see what happens when I go ahead docker compose up d. I want to see what happens when I do this. So it's still kind of broken. And since I didn't delete my library backup, like where the files are, so they are here. But in theory, I could just go ahead and delete them. So let's do this. Alright, so now the files aren't there. We have a bunch of thumbnails. There are a bunch of thumbnails, technically. This isn't the real thing. What would happen if I downloaded this? There should be like an error or something. Yep. So it's not there. There's an error. We get an error. Which is good. These are thumbnails that are cached. That we want to... That it just doesn't even matter that we have. So what we're going to do is we're also going to unzip the... Let's go tar. We're going to unzip the media backup. So we have the media backup right here. X, V, Z, F. And then Immich backup. And then we're going to do a flag, a -C, which is custom. And it's going to be in place. Because I'm pretty sure we backed up the library. So boom. Cool. So now we have unzipped in place. And we can go ahead and refresh. And then we click on here. And then we click download. Oh. Oh, let's refresh. I might have to restart the Yeah, let me go ahead and restart the application because I don't think we can go docker compose down, and then we can just do docker compose up. Alrighty. And there we go. We can download now. So that is basically it. That was basically me live going through the complete package for Immich, basically completely replacing Google Photos or iCloud Photos if you have it. And please give me feedback on this. This is big. I don't know if all my guides are going to be this big, and I want to just try it out and see how people will respond to it. This is definitely an intermediate project where like this is you getting out of just like installing something that does not require any maintenance. But yeah, scripts will come later. The article is going to be alongside this video. Please give feedback. Is there anything you're interested in seeing? I also do consultations. So if you were like, I can't do this, and you just either wanted me to walk you through it or just do it remotely for you, I also offer that. Um, Let me know if you need anything else. I will also try to document a bunch of stuff in the description. And yeah, just let's keep doing home lab stuff. Keep doing Linux stuff. You are basically a sysadmin now at this point. Yeah, thank y'all so much for watching.